All right, what is up, y'all? It's your girl Bryn checking in, and I'm about to go in once again on the city commission. I don't know if you all saw yesterday's meeting or has heard about Cupgate, the infamous Cupgate. Um, Basically, there was this lady, Taylor Bureau. Sound from the comments of the citizens from yesterday's meeting, she sounds like a wonderful individual. I have never met her personally, but folks who spoke about her in the meeting speak of her in a very high regard. I hear that she's done some deep help with the homeless of our in our community, and she's just an overall just carefree person. She has this cup, and on this cup has a sticker. On the sticker, it is basically like um, police with a baton, like lunging at somebody, and it has like the little X through it. I'll just show y'all the picture real quick. And with this picture, people have been going off because they at first the folks said that this said "F the police." Then it went to abolish the police. Then it went to just all around whatever negative thing you want to say about the police was on this cup. And this rumor was all started by a city commissioner. This rumor was started by Commissioner Williams Cox, who brought this up in a previous city commission meeting and said that this shows some sort of bias on Taylor's part because she has the sticker on her cup. And again, let me just show you what this looks like. If we could get to that. This is Taylor. Look at her. Look at her smile. Look at her just chilling with this cup. And I'll go to a close up. There it is. There, somebody somebody come look at this. When I look at this, I mean, would would anybody sit here and look at this and say, we want our police officers to go around with batons beating people that look like they have like their arms up trying to protect themselves from getting hit by a baton? I mean, isn't that the purpose of the citizen review board, is to make sure incidents like this don't happen? So I'm trying to figure out what the problem is with the sticker. Like, if anybody has this sticker on their cup, they're just saying, "Hey, we don't want our police officers around here beating people with batons. We don't want them out here shooting people and getting away with it when, there are other ways that the police can operate." And the whole point is for them to make recommendations for them so they can stop having these lawsuits and issues going on with them. The police are supposed to be here for them to protect and serve. And if they don't have the trust of the population that they're supposed to be protecting and serving, I don't know how they can protect and serve. And the Citizens Police Review Board, they're just trying to say, "Hey, we see other municipalities and how they operate with their police, and these are some recommendations for you to be a little better." There's no way that that TPD thinks that they are perfect and they don't need any type of reform to some degree with their policies. And poor little Taylor, she was dragged into this randomly, it feels like, with Diane Williams Cox bringing up this sticker on her cup. Again, randomly. This was, I believe, the first time this was brought up was about a month ago. And it has been top of Tallahassee news, regardless of all the other stuff going on in the city, regardless of the shooting happening at FAMU, regardless of the shooting from halftime liquors, regardless of all the other incidences that we have in this city. This has been on the front page of Tallahassee Democrat, Tallahassee Reports, and and it's literally just a sticker on a cup of someone who is a volunteer on a board that has no real authority to make the police do anything. And it's really a shame that Commissioner Cox decided to bring up this poor cup and this poor girl and drag her through everything that she's dragged her through. And yesterday, it sort of, came to a head. It blew up in the meeting. There was some yelling back and forth between Commissioner Richardson and Commissioner Matlow. And it just really got really ugly. And again, from people, and I say this about Commissioner Richardson and Williams Cox and Mayor Daley, they are the main ones talking about civility, civility, civility. And they are the ones that brought up this issue. They are the ones that blew this issue to the proportion that it's in, to where people had to come to this meeting, speak on the fact that they do not want Taylor gone. The police review board members do not want Taylor gone. And what did the commission do? They removed basically half of the of the review board. The review board has 9 members. They are now 5 down. There's only 4 people left. And I think that's what they wanted to do. I think that is exactly what they wanted to happen. They wanted these people, the members of this board, to either get so frustrated with the situation that they resign, and they wanted to make sure that they get Taylor out of there. So they knew that other people would leave too, like the other 2 people that were supposed to be reinstated last meeting. The whole purpose of the fact that this item was on the agenda was to reinstate 2 of the members whose terms were about to come to an expire. They basically said those 2 are not even getting we're just going to let them go too. And then one position, someone didn't want to be back on the board. So we have someone that resigned, someone who didn't want to be back on the board, and 3 people that the commission basically kicked off. And of course, they did this for a reason. Now, I learned, and we're going to learn again from our guest today. I have a member of that citizen review board with me who's going to talk about this. But what I've learned, and let me ask you guys if you heard about the Eddie Gallagher situation that Tallahassee has leapt itself into. Um, some months ago, the police department decided to have some sort of training with Eddie Gallagher. He is a former like army guy, Marine person, and he's very bad. He's for what I read, he was like taking pictures with dead bodies and like just being really just a dick to me. And it's very someone who wants to pose with dead bodies like that, they need a psych evaluation. But he was allowed to come to Tallahassee to have a uh basically a training with our police department, training them on what I will have no idea why TPD needs military training. Tallahassee is this big, and are we really about to come around here military style, knocking up on people? I guess that's why we need a citizens review board. But the review board put out a statement condemning the fact that TPD had this person, this very low character person, come into Tallahassee and give them training. And that was the first, I guess, knock on the review board, was that they put out this statement. And boy, did that piss off this police union and these back the badge folks. How dare you criticize our police department and the trainings that we have? How dare you, the Citizens Review Board, have anything to say about what we do at the police department? We was just supposed to have y'all look cute so we can say that we listen to y'all, but we don't actually want to listen to y'all. Y'all can't just be putting out statements without our approval. How dare you? And so now we come to now where they had to find something. They had to find, like, you know how Carisha, she was like, it's very much something. It's very much something. They had to find something to talk about. And what did they find to talk about? Poor Taylor's cup. I wish I had a tumbler around here so I could just have a bunch of tumblers with stickers on it. But Sister Girl literally just has a sticker. And they said, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to say that she's biased. The whole time she was on the board, nobody said anything about her. Nobody on the board says anything about the things that she's done. Nobody could pick out a single instance where her bias had any, I guess, sway on any recommendation or or any work that she's done for this board. Nobody can find a single instance. The only instance that they found is this cup. But, our police chief can go to a meeting and chastise the LGBTQ community, but then come back and say that that doesn't have any bearing on his work. Tallahassee is home of fraud and corruption. We have a former mayor in prison right now, another one probably going to jail. It's like we have all of these people around. The city manager was right along with them, and nobody's ever talking about their biases or whatever sort of feelings that they have that they bring into their job. But poor Taylor can't have a stick on her cup. And so that's why I brought Malik in. And before I bring him on, I want you to see this preacher's speech, I called it, that he gave during the meeting yesterday. He really went in on the commission, and I'm just going to play his whole comments, and then we'll have him on right after that. Ask him, what was going through his head at this time, and just ask him about his experience on this board and his experience with Taylor, and where he sees where the board can go from here. So I'll just start that.
Next is Malik Gary, and then Mayor, we will go to the two speakers that we have connected virtually.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Malik Gary. Say it 2215 Cedar Brook Court, 32303, Tallahassee, Florida. To the Mayor and City Commission, I stand in favor of Ms. Bureau. First of all, about diversity. Diversity is something that we lack in this city. On almost every diversity board, there's not more than 2 African Americans that sit on that board in our diversity as we talk about diversity. Let's talk about biases. Biases here, right? We gave $27 million FSU Doak Campbell Stadium, which money also went to some of your campaigns, but you still do your job. Why are we facing this issue about Ms. Bureau that is a false statement of what was on her cup? When we have children at the age of 15 and 14-year-olds going into our juvenile justice system for marijuana that are less than 5 grams. When we have kids dying by a gun violence situation, that is outrage. We can go back to 2015 when our city was one of the top 10 for gun violence in the state. We got other issues to focus on, y'all. We got other issues to focus on. Affordable housing, I heard y'all talk about it. I was online watching. We got more homeless people in our nation's capital, in our state's capital, than any other city in the state of Florida. We got work to do. This issue is not work for us to do. We need her on the board. You need me on the board, which is why I was appointed and confirmed. Nobody on this commission voted no against me to be on the board. I am an abolitionist, but biased, because I understand we got to rebuild the trust in our community with our police officers because, yes, in a sense, police officers have not been great to the Black community for a long time. Let's talk about how policing started. It was to catch runaway slaves. Let's look why people are abolitionists. Let's look at the foundation of system of policing. That's the problem. Not some of our police officers. It's the system itself. We got other stuff to do. I wore this hat deliberately to see how you would react to me wearing a Dream Defenders hat. I am proud to work for a grassroots organization that believes that we have other issues in our community than to be focused on police.
You're at about 30.
We got other stuff to do, y'all. We got other stuff, other money grants that need to be done to protect our children that are dying. You can't even go and play basketball outside of FAMU and not get shot. But we want to talk about Ms. Bureau's cup. We got other issues. You have been reelected to do the job to protect the citizens of this city, and let's do better. I said this at our last meeting. We got other issues and I hope you hear me clear. This won't be my last time speaking if this happens again.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is.
I know that's right. I know That's right. Malik came in swinging on this meeting. He was looking him dead in the eye and said, y'all ain't even, none of y'all voted against me to be on this board. He brought out the preacher's voice and all. He was really telling them, saying, hey, y'all ain't about to come up on here and tell me that Taylor needs to be off the board. And for what? So, Malik, go ahead and tell everybody who you are. I guess we already see who you are, what you about. But go ahead, give us a little introduction, and then we'll go into this whole Cupgate situation and so on and so forth.
Yeah, my name is Malik Gary, he, him pronouns. I am the happiest of happiest to be the lead organ for one of the longest standing grassroots organizations that believe in abolitionists. It's for the Dream Defenders. Then I also have the distinct honor to be the collegiate chair of the Florida Poor People's Campaign. Then I have the honor to sit on this board that we may not even have a board anymore, right? Which is the Citizen Police Review Board, as the appointee of one of my favorite commissioners on the commission, Jeremy Mallow. And yeah, I think the videos for myself where I stand on this issue. This is oppression in its finest way that you can think of. We have a police department that has a chief of police has killed a young man 20 years ago that never got charges brought to him. But that's not bias. You talked about it. He went to a Billy Graham conference, wore a shirt that says, I hate LGBT community. Excuse me for butchering that up, but that's not bias. You have a city manager that I found out today that's trying to get rid of a black fire chief. That's not bias. But then you have a city commissioner who in June of 2022 takes $1,000 from the Police Bureau Association. That's not bias. So what is bias? Bias is what they determine bias is to be, and it's baffling.
Now, what really came to mind when I was you speak was the fact that you brought up the fact that none of them had any issue with anybody on the board until this random situation came up. And it's like the fact, and literally just, what was that, a week or two ago, was that FAMU shooting? Instead of trying to, again, come together and have this real conversation about safety in our community and the different things that we can do, because obviously what we're doing now is not working. We can obviously see why, it's not working. We have other things to worry about. And instead, we are literally talking about a sticker on a cup.
Well, let's backtrack to October. In October, they almost voted on, because we have a split. Well, not even a split vote. We have a 3-2 vote. And Diane Williams Cox, Curtis Church, and this mayor almost voted to bring in an outside entity. That they did something in Chicago out of reform the gun violence in Chicago. They almost voted to pass that. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But they have 73 programs of the city of Tallahassee Police Department that are not officially working. We have so many other issues. We have a homeless problem, and we have VA homeless people sitting in our community that can't even go to a brand new VA hospital because there's not a full-time doctor there. We got people that are former city commissioners sitting in jail for fraud. You got a former mayor that could be prosecuted. I'm coming because they stole some money and didn't put it in the system correctly. You got a city attorney who should have gave the black deputy police chief in St. Petersburg, which is Deputy Chief Gillum, that's been the police chief here in Tallahassee. It's a Proud Boy system.
It is definitely a good old boy system where everybody's going along to get along. And, we just have to look back at why would Commissioner Williams Cox even bring up this situation? I mean, obviously, I hate calling people liars, but it feels like an obvious lie.
Oh, it is a lie.
It feels like an obvious lie. Because, the chair that she said, yesterday in the meeting, she said, the chair of the board told me that this is a problem. He wouldn't have brought it up to me. Problem. But I mean,
And
the y'all in y'all
yeah.
meeting, y'all voted unanimously to back her, and that this situation is not a situation. This situation is not a problem.
Well, let's fact check that. And so we've all been aware of that call, and that's in that conversation. So let's just backtrack. She's a habitual liar.
Oh my god.
Um,
Oh my god.
this is nothing new, and so she should have came out because she offended the board. Let's be clear. For you to say that someone would say "f the police department" and you would not correct your wrongdoing, that is a problem of yourself. Something in you. You're a Christian. The Bible says, "Give honor when honor is due," and you should respect. You should have enough respect to say that you effed up. But we talk about accountability and discipline. It's just a fascist word here in the city of Tallahassee. So you're not accountable for being falsely given a statement. First of all, you're a sitting sissy commissioner. Why didn't your aide check it? Why didn't staff check the information?
That is really what pins me, is that even if she was given, wrong information by whomever. I mean, I was just telling some folks that the other day I've been getting a lot of recommendations for Judge Judy videos. And I've been like binging Judge Judy. And the funny thing is that Judge Judy always says, "Well, if you heard that, where's the proof of it? Did you go and look for it? Did you seek it out at all? Did you have a picture? Did you have a video? Was there a voice recording? Anything?" We are in the 21st century. If you heard that somebody has some sort of F the police sticker on their cup, the first thing I would be like is, "Show me that picture."
Well, can I say this, Rooney? I think the problem is that they take so much kumbaya moment to say, "I created the board," but in 3 years they've never been to a board meeting. Let's talk about it.
Diane is a
let's
person
talk about it.
who habitually doesn't show up to certain meetings.
But she is so on a pedestal, like, "I created the board. You should give my props for creating the board." And Curtis Richardson did it too. We should be congratulating. Why are we congratulating if you haven't put the work in? You have all appointees on this board. When's the last time you talked to your appointee and feel how they feel? Did anybody reach out to any of the appointees or any of the member at larges before Wednesday? No.
And again, if the issue was about bias and an issue with Taylor being biased, the next step is like, okay, what decisions has Taylor made? Taylor isn't even the chair of the board. She is one member on a board of 9. And if there was any biases, any type of recommendations that she's giving, if she's not backing up her recommendations with any fact or anything, this would come up in a board meeting.
Correct.
This would come up again. This would be something that the chair would want to say, "Hey, something unethical. She's bringing us recommendations with no type of research or anything behind it." And it just sounds like, Diane was given some. I'm just gonna say she heard false information and she just didn't do her due diligence to follow up.
Well, they couldn't fact check it. I mean, the city commissioner said it yesterday, and Commissioner Matlow, proud to give him his applause here. He asked for the chief of police or the city manager when Taylor showed biases, and they said we can pull the record up. They said, "Yeah, we don't believe Ms. Barrow has made any biases and recommendations. Out of the recommendations that the board has made over the last 3 years, the chief of police has accepted 95% of those recommendations. So when has there been biases? You can't give me any." She also sits as the liaison. Taylor Barrow used to sit as a liaison for the board, which the board voted on, is that she sits on the National Association for Civic Oversight for Law Enforcement.
Well, let me pause right here. Let me go back to, I guess, because we're talking a lot about this board, but let's talk about a little bit of the structure, and then we'll go back into what you were saying. So I made a little graphic on Google Slides.
slides.
Yes, shout out to slides. But just a little like graphic of you know, who's on this board and again, who's gone after yesterday. So this first slide we have individual appointments. Now, the top we have of course our five city commissioners and then the names of their appointees at the bottom. And Commissioner Porter, she appointed Dr. Bobo to the board. Um, Commissioner Richardson, I hear I don't know this gentleman personally, so please forgive me if I mispronounce your name. But Mujahid,
Mm-hmm.
Mujahid, okay, that is Commissioner Richardson's aide, or not aide, but the appointee to the
Who's
board.
the vice chair of the board?
Okay, he's the vice chair
And
of the
was
board.
the founding chair of the board.
Okay, nice. All right. And then like you just said, you're Commissioner Matt Lowe's appointee. And then Daley has a gentleman by the last name of O'Brien, who, as of what was that, today, this morning?
Yesterday.
It-
As soon as
meeting?
As soon as no. He submitted it as soon as they voted a 3 vote to get rid of Taylor.
Wow.
Yep.
So he O'Brien sent in a resignation form or resignation email ASAP, I see. So that's why his name is in red here. But that was Daley's appointee. I mean, I maybe he doesn't feel any type of way because he obviously didn't care. Y'all said, we want Taylor to stay, and he's
9-0 vote.
9-0. Y'all so O'Brien said y'all not gonna get him. And then last, we have last name Hubbard for Commissioner Williams County. So the ones in green here are the ones that stayed. And so I'm trying to figure out how the board is going to function, which is 4 people on it. But let me go to the next slide and show the next thing because they're also at large members. Like there's civic groups that appoint people or wanted to have folks represent on the board here. So we have Barry Monroe, who was the chair of the board, who, as of yesterday, people didn't even realize what was happening. But we'll get into that in a minute. But the chair is now no longer.
Was the subcommittee chair.
Subcommittee chair?
Subcommittee chair.
A subcommittee chair. He's not on the board, and he was supposed to be reinstated yesterday. He's with NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And then Mr. Ed Gaines, who also did not get reinstated yesterday as he should have. He is with the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church.
Who was the chair? Who was the former
And he
chair?
was the chair.
Yes,
okay. And then Suzanne Van Wyk, she no longer wanted to be a part of the board. So her position is now vacant, but she's no longer with the board, and she was with Nan. And then last, our girl Taylor, who they weren't even supposed to talk about her yesterday, but she came up in conversation. she popped up like, who's this? And was removed from the board due to her insane biases. So now that we got like the structure out of the way and who, so again we had Ed Gaines as the chair, and then Barry Monroe, the subs you mentioned, okay, and so both of those people were supposed to be reinstated yesterday, but a motion made by Commissioner Williams Cox, she said, y'all could just leave. She literally
told everybody to kick rocks.
She literally told everybody to kick rocks for real, like eat shit, dead ass. Like she did, like it was wild how it all played out again, because folks were thinking, and Commissioner Matt Lau tried to bring the commissioners back to this point, but we're supposed to be here talking about Suzanne, Ed, and Barry. Suzanne's position is vacant. We're supposed to say, okay, we can start accepting applications, and then reinstate Ed and Barry as they wanted to be.
This board actually, just to get some statistics, has had 6 African Americans on the board, one of those being queer, which made up 67 of the board, 67% board, which is actually one of the most diverse boards that sit in the city. But we're talking about diversity here, y'all. How are we not diverse? somebody with green hair and tattoos that obviously loves the community, but we're not diverse. BS.
And again, we keep bringing up Commissioner Matlow and Porter in this situation because if you watch how everything played out, Commissioner Matlow tried to bring everybody back together to say, "Hey, we're talking about these three people and these three situations." And then when it kept going on, he's like, "Well, this back the badge guy was one of the first people to bring up, hey, we don't like Taylor," and during the public comments.
Well, he's a lead. He's the president of the Police Benevolent Association that never attends a meeting as well.
And that is exactly what Commissioner Porter said, is that a lot of people who were speaking sounded like they never attended a meeting. With all due respect, for real. Like, if you're going to sit here and talk about this board, like, personally, like I was saying to Malik before we started the show, I've only watched one meeting virtually. I didn't know too much about like the runs that you guys have put out already. But after yesterday, I was I was trying to look at anything I could find on the internet about the review, but I see that the police chief tries to keep a lot of that stuff on the down low and not letting y'all do press releases. But
I got you. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, that is exactly what we going into, because I want to know what Taylor, like, because they made it seem like Taylor is the ringleader, is like the mean girl of the group. Literally made her Regina George, and was like, she has so much bias that she is a hindrance to the board. So please, Malik, tell me what recommendations have y'all given and how this is played out.
Before we get there, let's talk about membership required trainings that are checkoffs for our mayor. So my first meeting was in October. In October, I walked into Eddie Gallagher's situation, which I have over 100 general orders that I have to read. Okay. Then you're also required to go to the Sim Police Academy. You're also required to go to the Citizen Police Workforce Diversity meeting. That's a 3-hour meeting. Required to go to an ethics meeting. And you're also required to do a TPD or ride along. Voluntarily board that you have to do things in the first 90 days of your appointment. Okay. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. But we biased. Okay.
I was about to say, this is a volunteer board now. They are not getting paid, which again brings me back to the point of Taylor is a volunteer. She's not being paid. That sticker is her First Amendment right of an opinion.
And she checked off all of those boxes. Everybody's checked off those. Everybody on the board besides myself, because I just got here, has checked off all those boxes. So when did you see biases? When she walked into the Citizen Police Academy and talked to Officer Henney, where were their biases? Because it doesn't seem like there were any biases. She went on the TPD ride along. She actually made a recommendation in November that we should require the board to do 2 mandatory ride alongs. Where's their biases?
She wants you guys to be even involved in understanding how TPD operates.
Correct.
But I think that's why they're mad.
That's why. But I think that's why we're here. I mean, that's why, right?
They don't want y'all all up in their business like that.
I need to know your business.
They do not want y'all.
I want to know your business.
How dare you sit here and think that you're about to make recommendations to us, and then think that you're also going to be all up in our business and figuring out what we do day to day.
Oh, I'm all in it, like white on rice and cornbread. But let me make those. So the first recommendation that was given this year was a impact weapon / batons, which is a General Order 60, and the police accepted changes paragraph C, but he rejected the new paragraph to D. And so in a sense, it was a young man that was at a bus stop. He was driving. He was driving. And he fell asleep, and they used the baton. And so we reviewed this, and so this is how we got to that order. And part of the D was rejected is likely to result in a death or a serious injury to anyone.
Okay, I'm sorry. Back up. So, what was the thing the police chief denied again?
Yeah, so he accepted parts of the General Order 60 that we recommended changes to weapons and batons.
So they want to continue their use of weapons and batons in what fashion?
We asked them to restrict what they would use it to. So in the instance of reason why they used it because of
And that was
matters.
sort of like, general and vague, like the recommendations y'all gave. Y'all didn't say like, oh, y'all have to not use weapons and batons in X, Y, Z situations. You just, restrict your use.
Yeah. Talk to people first. So the instance are,
How dare you?
yeah.
No. How dare you sit here and tell them that they can't beat people over the head with a baton?
So this incident occurred
Honestly, you guys hate the police.
but this instance occurred May 16th, 2021, and it was involved in an unuse of a baton without proper consent of an officer to respond and those type of things. I can't get into everything because of sunshine laws, but it was a sense to say, hey, can we, before we go beat somebody with a baton, wake them up to see if they're conscious, what's going on with them, how can we help them get better? And that's one, right? The second one was mental health, which was General Order 8. And actually, they accepted it, and then they gave money to get social workers to go out on some rides and the medic units. I don't know if people have got up to it, but he completely accepted it, and we're grateful. I mean, I guess we made a step, right? Guess we made a step.
I mean, they said that they would, I guess, do. I mean, if they now teach me a little something. So if they adopt one of your recommendations, now I'm assuming this is binding to like for instance, and like you said that they adopted this recommendation. Is it necessary that they didn't have to add recommendations
Correct.
after they adopt it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is adopted and it is written and changed in the charter of one of the general orders.
Okay,
They're
so they
supposed to.
have to act on that
Correct.
situation
If he accepts it.
Okay, yes,
And
of
so
course.
part of the problem is, and I think what grassroots organizations asked for this in 2020 was that it was an independent board that did not have to go through the chief of police or the city manager. And because we were finding problems in going directly to the chief of police or the city manager, and I think that's what we were trying to avoid. And so either way, we can recommend, but which is funny. Let's go back to October. October, we were told that we can create new policies under our charter, and then in December, we can't create new
I was
policies
about to
under
say
our charter.
no, y'all.
We were supposed to recommend to the current policies and find something in them. So it keeps changing. There's some contradictory statements between the city attorney office and what the charter looks like, and so
because again, it goes back to the point of, again, I remember 2020 was not that long ago, y'all. Like let's really just go back into our memory banks real quick. 2020, Floyd, everybody hitting the streets, and folks are like, "Hey, police be doing crazy stuff. So let's like review their actions and make sure that wrong actions they're held accountable for them." And all over the country, these sort of boards are propped up. Some of them independent, some of them not. And again, it's sort of funny because Commissioner Richardson brought up the fact that the whole reason we have a review board because Black people in my community wanted to. It was to watch what police do to Black people, the African American community, and it's like, okay, well, you're not even allowing the board to do something about the issue that you say that the board is supposed to do.
yeah, let's go back to 2020. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Okay.
2020, the only commissioner that was actually in the crowd with the community was asking for was Jeremy Matlow. So how do you know what the city, what the people of the city that you supposed to serve know what they wanted? I remember every time we protest. First of all, I got hit by a truck at a protest in 2020.
You did,
and the police officers protected him and put him in the back of a car. So let's not talk about that. Y'all know what we wanted because you weren't out there marching with us. How dare you insult people and say this is what we wanted? This is not. At that time, I was the lead organizer. How dare you say this is what the people wanted? The people wanted some justice for Alatoyan. Some people wanted justice for Tony McDade. People wanted justice for a no-knock warrant with George Floyd. That's what we wanted. That is what we wanted. We didn't hear and taught a mug.
a sticker on a mug.
That $65 million go to the police department. More than $65 million go to a police department that have 5 vacancies. And you recruit black people in these communities because we don't want to be police officers. That doesn't tell you out of your 73 programs something ain't working.
I think that is also because I remember the mayor distinctly saying that, oh, he doesn't want any more programs. There's too many programs. And it's like the bulk of the programs is under your beloved police department. And they're not they don't do there's no way that the police department is able to effectively administer 73 programs when they all are when the main talking point for them is that they don't even have enough officers to do your first job.
Yeah, and let's talk about the officers. I can't give all the information, but let's just say this: majority of the officers that live in that work in Tallahassee don't actually live in Leon County. Because of what the governor gave. They gave the option that they could recruit outside of 50 miles. So you got people in McCullough that deal with Proud Boys every day that can come into the intercity that don't know what they want with our city and roll our streets. The diversity in our police department is less than 10% of African Americans. There are not more than 5 sergeants that are African American. Let's not even talk about women in the Florida Sheriff's Department. There are not more than 1 woman sheriff in the state of Florida out of the 67 counties. Only 5 of them are black. That's in rural communities. And out of 24 of those associations that are sheriff associations don't have accreditations. What in the world? What are we doing right now in the state of Florida?
I think that this goes back again to the original intent of what a citizen review board is supposed to be.
Correct.
And these are the recommendations. A citizen review board is supposed to say, hey, we know that police, they sometimes do bad, but at the end of the day, people, right now they want police. And to increase the trust in police, to increase the effectiveness of police, we have to talk about how police can engage with the community.
Correct.
And the fact that you are in a city that is, majority black and barely anybody that you have on your force is black, why would you think that anybody would, again, start to trust that?
Well, it's because we have 2 deputy chiefs that are black. That's the reason why.
Okay. Oh, cool. I mean,
that's the reason why. That's the reason why. That's the reason why.
But I guess this is more so to the like the back the badge folks.
That's enough diversity.
No, to back the I was about to say the back the badge folks are like, no, that's you got it. That's enough. We don't need to make any other recommendations.
Well, we're not gonna hire a black chief. We're not gonna hire a black chief.
Don't y'all dare hire a black chief. That black chief is gonna have y'all black folk around here blowing up the city and tearing it up like they was doing it in Minnesota and stuff. Y'all going to cause problems in Tallahassee, y'all. Listen, black people all up and down these streets.
I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 2021 to pass a vote called Yes on 2, which was to change the police department from having full autonomy and hiring a public safety department officer. It did not pass, but it got 75% of people. It passed on a rent control. So from Minneapolis, Minnesota, the to have a structure to even be thought of. Why can't that be done in our states?
For Tallahassee to be the quote unquote, blue like land area, like the Democratic stronghold in the panhandle of Florida, it feels like we are just as conservative as Jefferson and Liberty, and I mean, like, well, what is the difference between what the situation with removing Taylor sounds like Ron DeSantis removing those school board members, and someone said that in the meeting yesterday too. Yeah. It's like, how is this any different? Because y'all have a differing of opinion on what you think the police is supposed to be. You sit here and make a motion to remove her from this volunteer position Like they're
Well, it's almost like it's. We can go back to Tallahassee originating. Tallahassee was originated as one of the lead stops for slavery, and how they moved indigenous people of the Seminole tribe, and there's two others I can't think off the top of my head at the moment, but they didn't have the right to stand their ground or on that at that tense. So this is historically a problem. The city of Tallahassee Police Department could be the number one or the number two longest police department in the United States of America. So when were they built? During slavery. What's the principle of their police department? Slavery. So most people, we don't talk about PTSD. We talk about PTSD as post traumatic stress disorder. What about we talk about in the black community post traumatic slave disorder? That's still a thing. We are treated like slaves in this city, and it is ridiculous. If you ever go on a ride along, you see the officers, they twirl into areas like Bond Community. They go down every street of Bond Community. You ever just ride in your car, you see police officers in Bond and Frenchtown on every street. You go to the north side of town, you don't see police officers in every crack and crevices. So you would find more crime in these communities that you want a heavy police. Isn't that still slavery? But there's no biases. Get out of here. Serenity, I'm trying to figure out what's the biases when you have heavy policing on one side of town.
I want unity. Okay. I want unity in our community, and I think it's impossible to get there if we have 3 people on the city commission who take money from from the police unions, from these back the badge people.
From blueprint money, let's talk about it. $27 million out of those 20, only $20 million went to Dope Campbell. The $7 million were the front, and then another 5,000 and 10,000 went to somebody else's pocket. But we're not gonna talk about that, right? We're gonna pass that because it was.
We're gonna pass that. It was the midterm election thing. We're past that. I think
the problem, and let's be real, the problem is not necessarily people that sit on the board or the commission. I think some of them have had at one point in time the right heart of doing the thing for the people. I think it's become politics and money now, so people don't know what the hell they were voted in to do for. And so people now in our city that Commissioner Bill Proctor and Curtis Richardson have been sitting on there for 20 years, longer than almost what we've been born.
No, is longer than what we've been born. Proctor's been on there longer than I've been alive. Yeah. Richardson too, because he went from he's been in politics longer than I'm sure my sister has been alive.
So people, what is that? That means people have got comfortable,
way too comfortable
in politics. Because in politics, you have a job in politics or you don't have no job. Like there's no other line.
They can if their mission is money, they could literally make more money in the private sector than what they're doing right now.
But if you're comfortable in doing what you're already doing,
you barely do. I guess they barely do anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, majority, and I was going to say that the majority of the work comes from aid. So, if you have a great aide, you could be a great politician and not know anything.
True.
Like if you ever look at Ben Crump don't talk a lot in speeches. He gonna be like, "Come here, come here."
Don't do him. But now you're gonna have folks going in on Ben Crump in the comments. Why did you do that?
You have to be strategic. It's not the point people out. Okay, I think Ben Crump is one of the historical.
He is the black attorney general. He's the attorney general of the black community. Put some respect on him.
The attorney general for the black community. Like things have never been done. But he's smart.
Yeah,
he is smart. He know when to talk and when to shut up. And you know what? Homeboy ain't gonna say nothing that's false out here in the community. Homeboy gonna check 3 or 4 times to see if that sticker was on that cup.
All you had to do was look.
All you had to do was look. Come on, while we talking about Dr. Bill Crump, Ben Crump would have never allowed that to come out of his mouth.
I think that's what we go into is what has been flowing through my head, because again, what Williams Cox said about this cup originally is now verifiably false. Is that not an concern?
Shouldn't she be removed? Because of her biases? I'm just trying to figure it out.
Isn't this an obvious,
is there not a policy for that?
Is this not an ethics concern?
Is it a policy for that?
Is there
Who knows? I'm charging you. Who knows what policy?
No, but for real, because I mean, if you're gonna sit here and like basically lie about a situation,
What else are you lying about?
misinterpret,
It's a lie. Call it what it is.
slightly misinterpret a cup and a sticker on the cup. Is this not an ethics complaint or an ethics concern, I guess, with the fact that this situation was again brought up out of nowhere because the chair is simple. So if your argument is the chair brought this up because the chair believed this was a problem, the chair is backing Taylor. So is that true that the chair brought this up to you?
Remember that song by Michael Jackson, Dirty Diana?
Please shut up.
was done and will come to the light. And listen, I need somebody to figure out what policy this is. Because there's a policy. It's got to be somewhere.
It's somewhere.
Because what else are you lying about? Look, I'm coming for you.
Stop looking at the camera.
What else you lying about? What else are you lying?
No, but like, listen, no, but for real,
That
like,
money she took
the Stanley Sims need to put in the ethics complaint against Diane for this.
No, he can't do that because then they're gonna try to arrest him. They're gonna try to arrest him. It can't be too offensive. Yeah.
They would arrest him.
They would. You know, they gave him a trespass. They gave him a trespass because he shut. This man.
Let me get back on topic.
No, but he shut down the city commission so bad that the mayor had to take a recess. You's a powerful nigga. Tell me what you doing. You make the mayor go to lunch.
The mayor had to go across the street to Andrew.
He went to lunch, y'all. Listen, if Jesus would ever bless me like that, if the leader is one that knows the way and goes away and shows John C. Maxwell and Stanley Sims led the way that day. He made them go to lunch to recess.
Let me go, but let me get back on topic.
And he's not always factual. We know that he go off topic. But that day in history, he made the mayor go to lunch.
He really pissed off the mayor so bad.
You get a trespass. You gave him a trespass.
Okay. I'll go back. But
back
for real,
Taylor.
No, for real, about the ethics complaint. Like, again, if we think that if again she's misinterpreting information, purposefully misinterpreting information, and the board, you guys support Taylor, y'all think that there isn't an issue. Where is this coming from? Like, where did her motion to do any of this come from?
The Police Benevolent Association, point blank.
And so it comes from, of course, the Police Benevolent Association. And why she holding water for them? Duh, she's getting money. She got money for their campaign. She owes them, I guess.
Well, how does a nonpartisan organization have the decent order and authority where there's supposed to be check and balances, because we're talking about politics, right? How do they make a motion on the agenda that's not on the agenda?
It was option 4 that the commissioners can do whatever they, basically can bring up something on that.
But that was not on the original agenda.
Taylor was not on the original agenda, but one of the policy options
not
on that agenda item.
But until the president of the Police Benevolent also addressed it. So this should have never even came. This should have been something done in Diane William Cox's office, because you're falsely accusing the whole board. The whole board at this point, because we stood behind all 3 of them. Come on, like this is you're offending people because we stood behind.
She says she doesn't care if she's offending y'all.
She want our resignation.
I was about to say she was accepting y'all resignation. Did it down? She said, and on top of this motion, I'm accepting any and all resignations. And y'all can kick rocks.
And none of the cowards behind her said we can't do that in the live. Nobody said that. So where are we coming to as a city, and how do we go forward?
Again, this has to be an ethics problem, and I really want someone to bring this up.
I don't think it will be.
I don't see how it's not an ethics concern.
Because now in city policy, I don't know if you read this, and I didn't read it until Stanley Sims brought it up the other day. But he was factual.
No, I love Stanley Sims. He is a character.
The city of Tallahassee can make a decision whether they had a sick day or a bad day, or they felt like talking, or if they didn't feel like talking, they don't have to respond back to your complaints. They don't even have to respond back to you leaving a voicemail on their answering machine because it's in the policy. What? You're a public servant for the public.
Wait, but I thought, now correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you know the answer to this either, but like if a citizen files an ethics
You got to
complaint,
respond back.
I thought this went to like some third party entity because
The independent.
yeah. So
But-
it's like
But the fact that you give the option,
they
to your
can't
workers-
compel them to answer a complaint. Like it's not like a subpoena.
But forget that part. Like you allow your workers to judgment on themselves if they want to call somebody back.
So the
city.
independent ethics people can't compel a city commissioner to respond to an ethics complaint.
But I don't think it's city commissioners that we're worried about. I think it's like general people that work for the city that get me and your tax dollars don't have the like if you leave a voice.
But I mean, in this situation,
this
Diane
yeah.
brought this up obviously because of.
But how would we wouldn't even get the votes. Who would we get the votes from? We ain't got nobody to vote on this.
The commission has to vote on their own ethics complaint.
I don't know.
That doesn't sound right.
Who got the information?
That doesn't sound
But if they did, we ain't got it. Because the bad news bears, the Three Musketeers, they gonna vote for
This
each
is
other.
why we need Jeremy Matlow to get this ethics stuff straight, because
But
my understanding this whole time was that if someone brought an ethics complaint, it went to the independent folks, and then they have to like it's literally like like how the with the federal government they do with commission like with the January 6th stuff,
Right.
like they bring something forward and then they compel people to speak on it or whatever through like subpoenas or whatever. I thought that's what they do, like they investigate and they compel you to.
Who know?
I don't know enough about that.
Who know? I don't know.
I don't know enough
that's
about
out of
it.
my
I guess I should stop talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't get me because I don't know.
I
think a lot of us don't
somebody
know.
out there has to put something forward on this
But it's
because
not in
there
writing.
is something there.
Ain't nothing in writing. That's the problem. That's the problem why we got 3 former city commissioners about to be in jail. Ain't no
They had to catch them on a video recording.
Ain't no ethics in the city of Tallahassee at this moment. Po Tinker. Ain't no ethics in the city.
Okay. So
And Taylor
listen,
Barrow should have never been removed.
she definitely should have
That's
never
the
been
point. That's
removed.
the end of the story.
And it was also funny watching the meeting yesterday. And like initially, Commissioner Cox, like Williams Cox, said like made a motion, and then it was silent because it took Commissioner Richardson a while. I guess maybe he needed to collect his thoughts, or maybe he thought the mayor was going to hop on. I don't know what he was thinking, but it took him a minute to be like, okay, let's just have a discussion first.
He was thinking Wakanda forever.
He said, let's have a discussion first, even though they already knew what they were about to do. And they had this discussion, and Commissioner Porter again, she brought up the fact, hey, if I say that I don't like charter schools, I'm not a fan of charter schools, does that mean I'm going to sit here and like, talk bad about charter people who bring their kids to charter schools, or not try to support parents who have their who bring their children to charter schools? Like, they kept going on in this conversation, and I was waiting for the mayor. It took the mayor a long time to even speak on the topic.
The mayor wouldn't even look at me in my face when I was speaking.
Does he look at anybody in the face when
He's a coward.
Does he look at anybody in the face?
He's a coward.
He just gives you one of these.
Mm-hmm. And he's so happy.
When I was interviewing him for
and he always got a presentation to give.
When I was interviewing him, it was for the alert interview thing. It was so funny the way he would just look. When that whole situation happened, when Deltree and Miss
Delantry.
Thank you.
Get the boy name right. Please.
I don't know people's names. I don't know how to pronounce people's names. Okay, I try my hardest.
You Southern Belle.
Thank you, baby. I love you. So they stood up and started yelling at him, and he hit me with one of these, and I'm just looking at him like, they talking to you, like you You go like, don't look at me to try to help you pull yourself out of this. You got to pull yourself out of this. But it's just so funny how like he was like again back to what I was saying back on topic. But like how Commissioner Porter and Commissioner Matlow was trying to have these conversations about like again, can anybody, literally anybody, bring up a single issue on point of Taylor bringing some sort of bad having some sort of bad judgment or whatever while on this board. And it seemed like I like it I guess the city commission can just do whatever they want to do if they have the majority like this. But that would
Well,
seem like proof that you have to bring to even do something like this.
no, because I mean, in this state, we have a governor who don't care.
But
So
but I mean, for like for your board, like again, I guess it's weak was written in the charter and how y'all can be removed and things like that.
but it doesn't matter. It's in politics has the power. It's not the board. It's the commission. So like how the governor was able to go remove them people off of how the governor was the school board, the state attorneys, because he's the ultimate commander in chief of that state, which technically the board is the commander in chief of the city of Tallahassee,
Yeah.
who has the majority. You only needed the three people to vote here in Tallahassee to get the majority, and that's what happened.
Okay, so walk me through this real quick. So you guys are obviously on this board. You guys have obviously had these conversations. You know, we already know that you guys voted unanimously to back Taylor. Are there any other conversations that you could share that the board has had on this topic? And again, what was said? Like, I would love to hear from the chair himself, since he's basically the scapegoat in all of this. But I mean, if you've spoken to him or just know, like, what now that they're not on the board, like, what is everyone's like thought process right now?
Yeah, I will say I have talked to the former chairman, and he's very disappointed. He's very disappointed in
To
the
say the
commission.
least, I guess.
Yeah, and he sent the email in because technically he still has it to the 31st of this month to remain as the chief, and he resigned effective immediately. And so I think for us at this point, it is who's going to be the new chair? Who's going to be all of our? Wait, let me backtrack. Judge Van White, Patrick Bryant, and Barry Monroe were all of our subcommittee. They were all the people that were writing the end of the year report. Nobody's there anymore.
So tell me this, and then I guess get back into the conversations that I guess that you guys have had. In the charter, what does the charter say about how many members have to be on the board? And, is there any sort of like stopgap? Not stopgap since it's already happened, but, you know, in a situation like this where maybe 4 or 5 people want to resign from the board, you know, what happens now?
We don't have a good decorum at the moment. I think we would need at least one more person. I
Mhm.
think. I don't. That's a question I don't know. But applications will be open, and if you want to apply, go ahead and apply because we got five people. Well, somebody John Daly's going to appoint.
Mhm.
Probably be somebody from the police association. We don't really care. But for those 4 positions that are,
Well, I mean, I guess go into what was his first name? Patrick O'Brien.
let me finish. Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Let me do this.
I want to get. I want to get into the tea of the conversations
Let me
that
do
you
this.
guys have had. We can tell folks to apply later.
I need them to know to apply every 30 seconds it come out.
Okay, apply
But
now. Go
thank
into
Patrick, let me tell you, Patrick cut the darn city attorney off in the meeting in December 5th
Mhm.
and said, "This is ridiculous. We got other issues to focus on." And I think a lot of us genuinely believe that same concept, which is why we all put out a statement 9-0 to vote for Taylor Bureau, to 9-0 to stand with Chair Gaines, 9-0 to stand with Barry Monroe, 9-0 to put out a statement as a board. So who's at fault? Do we punish the board and the subcommittee chair because they put out a statement? First of all, in our bylaws and charters, it doesn't say that we can't put out statements. We were told that on December 5th. It's not in the charter. But we are supposed to act as the citizens, as a city commission. So it's supposed to be approved by us. But it doesn't say that we can be removed based off of that. It doesn't say that because it's not in the charter. So it's not like you said, a subpoena. We can't be subpoena for doing a statement because it doesn't say we can't do a statement.
When the Eddie Gallagher situation came up back in October,
9-0.
Who originally brought up the idea to put out a statement on this?
Ooh,
Do you know?
I gotta go read notes for that. I think I might have second from what I can remember in October. I think I sent our amendment to the table to ask about training tactics, and why there wasn't vetting. Oh, and Eddie Gallagher was a ex U.S. Navy SEAL, and they traveled. And so it wasn't in Tallahassee. They traveled to another facility. But at the time, I can't remember who brought that up. I think I would have to bring some notes out for that.
Well, I guess that's okay. I just wanted to, get an idea of, the board already, again, doesn't have a lot of teeth, which is a problem that we've all addressed even during the election cycle, that we want to have more teeth to this board. But the fact that you guys still found a way to still get underneath their skin is commendable. Congratulations. But I guess I want to know, before that statement was put out, or during the time that you guys were trying to draft that statement, what were the conversations that you guys were having about, I guess, the impact you want this board to have in doing that statement, and again, the statement for Taylor?
Yeah. So in a sense, I think the chair has always, since he become the chair, wanted to give out community outreach. I think that was one of the biggest things, which is why in the report we have even changed to make sure that we are in the community. So there are 4 spots coming in 2023 that we voted on to be in the community awards, and because we are a community-based group that supports and is the voice of the community. If the community brings an issue towards our table, we are sworn in from Sunshine Law that we can't talk about it because it's an issue the community brought. Right? And so if we are for community and the community has an issue about it, why can't we give a statement about it? Why can't we do the work that the community finds unjust? Help me make this make sense. Because if the community is bringing you an issue, right, you don't obviously talk about it, right? Because that's what you're there for. And so it's always been that since I've been on the board is, how do we make sure we get the community outreach to get more people in the room? How do we make sure that we're in the community? Which is why we're going to Jack McLean and the Lincoln Center and these other places that we voted on as a board, to know if we miss them. Well, first of all, you can't miss them more than 3 board meetings a year, or you'll be kicked off for a volunteer board. People have lives. People have to read a lot of pages to be prepared, and we don't have staff. People don't understand the work that we actually put in to make this a successful meeting. That's the first Thursday of every month. So I only got 3 weeks to read something. In those 3 weeks, something else could have occurred.
I guess this is a perfect transition into okay, this has happened. We're now 5 people down from the board.
5 people down.
And I'm assuming, I don't know what else other policies Diane Williams Cox can pull out of her ass about trying to dissolve this, but I don't think that is the case. But we're down these people. Obviously, our next, what do we do now? What do we tell the folks at home listening? And they heard this stuff yesterday. They understand like, hey, something obviously has to happen. Something's got to give. That's why y'all watching the show. But first, we'll say again, I guess, starts with, if you guys want to be a part of this board, please apply. We obviously need more, people who care about holding police accountable, which is a whole point of the board. So any of these other folks that they might want to put on the board, I don't want them to be loose sort of folks who aren't going to do anything, or probably going to be, I guess, some sort of hindrance to the work of the board. So I'll say this, if you have it in your heart or you feel like you want to volunteer for this, it is definitely something that we need more people to do. I'm sure Malik would love to have you guys on the board to help him out in this situation. But I guess, what else other than applying for the board can we do as an organizer, as an abolitionist? What else do you suggest that people at home can do to make sure that their police are held accountable?
My biggest thing is, and I'll tell anybody, never lose your voice. And I think that's what we experienced. This was an attack on your First Amendment rights. This was an attack on people who serve at the free will of their communities and their organizations that feel that they have an opportunity to make change. You in this season have to step up no matter what, right? And if you don't apply on the board, I would urge
Heavily urge
you to
scream at you to.
Yeah, urge you to. But I also would say, like, there are so many other issues that we need to focus on in our community. And the fact that a legacy was left in our community, that a father and son did a shooting on the basketball court at FAMU. There are so many.
The son of a person who killed somebody previously,
correct,
killed somebody on the FAMU basketball court. Yes.
That's the legacy that we're leaving in Black communities. Is that the legacy that we want to leave our Black men and boys? There's so much work to do. There is so much work to do, not just with our police department, not with just our elected officials, but Black men and Black women in general, and the minority communities need to know that they feel loved and they have another way besides guns. Mm-hmm. Our educational system has failed our children in the last 5 years. I remember going to school, not to go to school to learn nothing, but just to take a test. What are we doing? There are so many issues that our state, our city is facing, that if you become silent, they will run over you like a bull. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Please continue to use your First Amendment right.
And I guess my extra point to that is, we are here because we allowed, and I'm going to say we, I don't care who you voted for, I'm going to just say we allowed Daley to get back in office. We allowed Commissioner Williams Cox to get back in office. A couple years ago, we allowed Richardson to get back in office. And so if you are looking at this and you care about policing, you care about the safety of our community, you care about where we can go from here in trying to get somewhere better than where we are now, you have to go and vote. You have to be engaged. You have to understand what is going on around you. These people are coming in randomly, and bringing up this nonsense when they could really be talking about, how are we getting affordable housing into the city? How are we bringing more activities for young adults to do, so they're not getting in trouble, basically, not out here running around with gangs and shooting people and getting into in confrontations. What are we doing in terms of educating our youth and making sure folks have some sort of opportunity to get themselves out of their situations? How are we trying to improve the lives of folks who live in impoverished areas in our city?
And it could have made, let's say this as well. Voting won't fix everything, but it's a start.
It's the bare minimum.
It's the start.
It's the bare minimum.
It's the start. And we got to start somewhere. Let's remember Dr. King said, if you can't run, if you can't walk, if you can't crawl, still we got to move forward. And I'm paraphrasing it. But if you can't run, if you can't walk, if you can't crawl, at least we still got to move forward. And moving forward is your vote. Make sure that you're registered in the city, because if you don't know, they still vote you. They still count you in the city when you come as a student in Tallahassee and FSU, which means they get your dollars, y'all. They getting them dollars for y'all, which means you need to know what's going on. There are only two things to do in the city that are District 850 and Hangar 38 that are not in college areas. But if you look at diversity, right? We're diverse, right? We're a diverse city. Ooh, go back to this. The city commission voted to put Black Lives Matter in the middle of Game Street. So is there really a problem with this movement? I'm sorry.
No.
You're wrapping this.
No.
Is there really a problem with the movement at the moment?
I think that we're at a point where I think yesterday, I always say this, but I hope yesterday was the day that, this woke somebody up, I guess, or made them feel compelled enough to want to do something, if that be anything. And if you are sitting at home and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a mess, what I'm seeing. If you care about the candidates more, you can join the local Democratic Party. They have a lot of control over who runs in these races. They have a lot of control over who does.
Barely. Let's barely. Let's talk about
people
the
individual. We're not going to get into that. Was another episode. But individually, pause. We'll come back. That was another episode. We talked about the DEC, the Democratic before. Let me don't get me off track. If you care about candidates, join your local Democratic Party.
We need
you. For real. They do have control over the people that are running in these local races. If you care more about activism and getting out in the streets, join Dream Defenders. They out here. If you want to again use your voice in some type of way, you can always do TikToks. You can again do anything that you can to educate your neighbor on some situation. I think that's why I started this podcast, is because I wanted to just let people see and hear and understand, like, there are things going on around you, whether you are paying attention or not. And it always, regardless of if you're paying attention or not, it affects you. It affects you, your family, everything that you see around you. Again, like Malik was just saying about the things that there are to do around this city, close down prime time. You can't go to prime time. Where can you go? But like, there's so many things out in the city.
Close down GVO. Where can we go?
But for real, like when I came back from undergrad, I was so honestly really excited to be back home. And I see Tallahassee having so much potential, but we're losing that potential from these distractions about a damn sticker on a cup about these. I don't think the Doak situation was a distraction, but it was definitely like a lot of misinformation of people trying to confuse you over what the actual issue is. It's the fact that your money is going to something that you're not even using. And it's like,
or winning. There's no winning season.
You're like, we have to get to a point where you have to care about what's going on around you. And again, the bare minimum you can do is vote. Another step you could take is, again, joining a local party and taking over that. You could join a Dream Defenders if you want to do more, organizing and activism in that way.
Shout out to the Dream.
But again, I want to leave you all with that and say that, it is us versus them, and something's got to give here. So I want to thank Malik for joining us today. This was honestly the best conversations I probably had about this situation. I guess because it was just so animated, and it was just so funny to watch this situation yesterday. And this was a pop-up live stream. So thank you to everyone who popped up and listened. And I see some engagement on there, and I love the shares.
Shout out to the audience.
Shout out to
one
the
time
audience.
for the audience.
And please continue to share. Follow the Something's Gotta Give Facebook page. Follow us on YouTube. And Malik, go ahead and share your handles if you want to share that. But I believe we got that at the bottom as well. But go ahead and make any other shout outs you want to make.
Yeah, shout out to the Dream Defenders, a 10-year-old grassroots organization who started after the tragic killing of Trayvon Martin. You can find us at Dream Defenders TLH one time, or you can find us at the Dream Defenders, and we would love to have you. And shout out to the audience. Yeah, shout out to the audience and the people of this city that actually believe that there can be a change. Monday, I was in a meeting, and we talked about hope. And one thing that I still have hope for about the city is that they could be a brighter day. And that just means, you know what, y'all, we just got to go redefine what freedom looks like for us. We got to be the change agents. We got to still continue to dream and know that 60 years later, we still fighting this fight for equality and justice, but we can't stop now. The road may look rough, but always is a full cycle moment.
Now here you go preaching to the crowd.
We got this.
Here you go.
We got this. Let's do it.
We ain't need you to come out here. And
I just had to tell the people, like, stay hopeful, stay loving, like, respect each other, and know that we got this. Don't be worried.
We really do, y'all. Hey, something's got to give, and it won't be us, huh?
It won't be. It ain't gonna be me.
It ain't gonna be me. All right, y'all. Thank you again so much for joining us and listening in on this late night stream. And I will make sure that we get some clips going out for y'all to share. Please make sure you are following the pages and following Malik and the Dream Defenders and getting involved in your city. And that is it for me.